All right, all right. Let's go ahead and test the audio on the stream here. Make sure we're good to go. My speaker isn't on.
Test the audio on the stream here.
Okay. Alrighty, guys. Sorry for being so late. I've been just working all day, and then the gentleman that's coming over to do some work in the house, he's still here working, but I let him know that I had to try and get to this stream. Wanted to at least get it going, and I might be, probably will be interrupted here. So yeah, I've been working on this resume page a little bit here and there, kind of just nipping away at it, and getting some pretty cool stuff done on there. I think it looks pretty cool in terms of what needs to be done, or that has been done on it. Kind of forgot where I left off on the last stream. That's kind of the drawback of doing these things a week apart like this, or so many days apart. But I think what I was dealing with, or one of the bigger things, is I had to deal with CSS variables, and that was pretty cool. But before we get into it, as always, guys, for those that are catching the playback, I am sorry for the inconsistent times for streaming. Just trying to get used to this new job schedule and everything. And I know I overslept the last stream, and also I wanted to try and get some other stuff done here in the house first. But this guy's really good, and he answers the phone, so I work around his schedule. It's very hard to find good help around here, and this guy's super good and excellent. So I wanted to make sure I help him out any which way I can, because he's getting some stuff done so I can get a surround sound system in my my sunroom. So that's important, So for in terms of like having a nice place to relax and chill out for a little bit while I get some of the other stuff done here in the home. So with all that being said, yeah, let's dive into it. So we're looking at our image first. This is a pretty nice, interesting image. I like this one. I didn't see anything else that was like really that great in what in this. It seems like I always lean towards images of like female characters. This is cool. This is cool. You guys might hear some like noise in the background, but yeah. So, oh wow, this is nice right here. Grand Citadel, Hall of Beginnings. I wonder what game this is. This is pretty cool. Yeah, it looks like it's like something was done in Unreal, because it has the Unreal character model there. But yeah, so let's get to it. As I always say, like I like to do a little bit of art and look at it, or look at art, and I kind of like try to incorporate some of my own style into when I write code, and especially incorporate art pieces that I do like. So one thing we worked on was CSS variables. So with CSS variables, it allows you to make changes to the or to define a variable, like a global variable, or even a local variable. But you can define a global variable, and then through JavaScript, I can actually manipulate that global variable and change it as necessary. So that way I can do my randomization code with my array of colors, and I can always just make changes to these variables as needed or as I want. In this case, I have it changing every time a new picture, or every time the page reloads, I get a new picture and I get a new color scheme for the entire page, which is really nice. So we've done some work to the contact page, got all the information and everything else like that. Here, the About Me page, I was just working on this today. So this is actually from my resume. And I have the contact information for customers to get at me, where I live and everything else like that, my age, all that type of stuff. And so like we have all the coding competencies that I do, and this stuff is actually not static. It is actually generated, or it's placed in there dynamically. And this is what we're talking about, is hydrating our page, our thirsty ass page here. So we're trying to like hydrate it with information. So I wrote a bit of a config, or a JSON object that will act as a config, and then that is processed through a function that just does a lot of array handling and object handling and things like that. And I do a couple of things to kind of in a sense, like not normalized data, but not normalized data, but make it into a way that, or put the data into a way that it can be repeated. So I use a lot of I use a lot of classes here, so that with the classes with the class statements, I can use those, and I can use those multiple times in one page. So for instance, anything with the class of resume phone, and it'll put the phone number here, and then it does it on other pages as well. So I can handle all of this stuff and generate all of this stuff as needed, where I need it to, or where I need to. All right, so, and I also just put in this Upwork symbol here. Try to work with this a little bit more. So I couldn't find a good symbol, but I wanted to, to make it known that, hey, this is an Upwork link. So when you click on this, it goes to my Upwork page, and you can see my beautiful face right there. But yeah, so I got a lot of that stuff done. All right, so let's look at the code. Alrighty, so here with the code, I have a lot, well, not a lot. I have quite a few things in here where I've replaced. So for instance, we can see the class of full name. I've taken that out. And then some things I do use actual IDs. So the difference between an ID and a class is that a class can be used multiple times. An ID is unique. It can only be used once. If you actually use an ID multiple times on a page or a web page, it will actually notify you in the console that the ID is not unique and it's being used multiple times. Now, what will happen with that is that it will only, if you write any code that targets an ID, it'll only go to that first ID. If you write any code that you want to target a specific class or a specific, like not a specific class, but a specific version or iteration of a class, I guess you would say. So if it's like, you have 15 of these different class, or you've defined this class, or you've applied this class to 15 different elements, and you want number 10, it'll be in an array. And you can do things like document query selector, or query selector, and then maybe all, and then maybe with that query selector, you can actually be a little bit more granular. So you might be saying like a class, this class that's applied to an LI object or something like that. You can do things like that as well. In that case, depending on how many times I have to do that, I'll probably use an ID of some sort, or try to do some randomization in terms of like JavaScript, in terms of when that content is actually pushed into the, sorry, I forgot to increase the font there, or push that into the div, or push that into the HTML page or the HTML itself, just so that you can randomize that and then use that or keep track of that somehow. I did figure out what was going on with the images. I had changed when I changed IMG and to images, I did it for all the IMG tags. So I found that out and fixed that, and that was pretty easy to fix once I got that going. So here, for instance, what I do is I have my site link. So if I wanted to use it multiple times, I can just go ahead and use it. And then I have a function that just has an if statement that says if it includes link, then do this, because it has a different way. It hits a different thing, because I want it to hit an href as opposed to hitting the inner HTML of the element itself. So you'll see why I did that here in a moment once we look at the little config that I made. I do want to, what did I do? I think I already did this. Yeah, okay, good. That's fine. Nano CSS and then main CSS. So then here we go. Got rid of a couple other things that just aren't needed in the file. I will be going through cleansing the file a little bit more and getting rid of things that I just don't need. Actually, you can do a lot of work with the Lighthouse tool, the auditing tool. And with the Lighthouse tool in the Google Dev Tools is you can actually audit your page to see what things are being slow, or what things are slowing down the loading of your page. And you can even see, it'll even show you that, hey, listen, you have this big CSS file and only this many things are being used. Now, in the case of this page, it's not a multi-page document. Everything's all in one index.html file, and everything just looks like a multiple pages because we're using anchor tags and JavaScript to switch different elements out and fade things out or transition to new pages or new pages and content. So most likely all of the information in here is being used, but you'll see one or two things where it'll probably say that it's probably best to cut this down, and then also to go ahead and minify a lot of this stuff as well, which we can do on the back end or later on. And I'll probably have another video about things like that. So what I did here is, if you do :root and then your curly braces, in case these items in curly braces, you can actually define variables. So when you define your variables in this syntax here, or this case, this naming convention, it'll be like dash dash, and then whatever you need to in terms of like making it unique. So I have my primary color. This is the color that's always going to be there. This is the purple. This is the base color I'd like to use. But then in terms of my body, I can say var and then parentheses, and then I can pass in that variable here that's defined in the root. Now this is a global variable, meaning it can be used on this CSS page, and I believe it can be used in other CSS pages as well. I haven't tested that. Still kind of working with this. Still kind of new to me. But now that I have this global variable and I'm putting it into all these different places, now instead of me having to say, okay, I can have to define, the background for each thing. Instead of doing that, and actually I have the old function here. Here we go. So random page color old, essentially. So now that I use the variables, I went from using this many lines of code, right? So I start here, and then you can see that, I have the selected object, and then I have all the different classes that I want to hit and that I need to change, right? And it's like, okay, well, this is a lot. And I was just going through this, and I'm like trying to figure out, I have to do things to the hover color. I have to do things to pseudo elements, which are hard to work with, and try to tackle. So I was able to, Richard Dixon, hey man, what's up, brother? Appreciate you joining, man. Sorry I'm late. I really do appreciate you joining. So I'm sorry I'm 3 minutes late, but or 3 minutes late to your comment, but sorry I'm also late to the stream, man. And thank you for being a ride or die, brother. I really do appreciate you a lot. And again, still thank you for that Cash App that you sent me. And I know I helped you and everything like that, but you didn't have to do that, but you did, and I really do appreciate that. And I do appreciate everybody that comes in on the back end as well. I'm kind of like dead tired here, so I'll probably make this one a little bit short, and I have to probably step away to work with these gentlemen here as well. But I definitely wanted to come and give you guys a stream, and there'll be another stream tomorrow night as well. So as you can see here, I kind of got rid of a lot of different lines of code here, and it was like, it's very cumbersome, tedious. I have to look at every single thing, making sure I get every color right every single time, having to change the hover or having to change if it's a hover color, if it's a background color, if it's a border, right, like that, or background color. Like I have to catch it in so many different ways. So I have all these lines here. So this is line 330. And, I got spaces in there. And that's 266. So 330, 266, that's like 34. That's like, yeah, 330, 266. That's like 330. It's like, what, 70 lines? Damn, is that 70 lines? That can't be 70 lines. 330 minus 266, 64 lines. Yeah, I was trying to do it in my head, but I'm not great at math, I'm not going to lie. So 64 lines of code consolidated by using CSS variables down to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 lines of code. So that's the importance of using CSS variables, man. So Richard Dixon says, no problem, bruh. You helping me one day to plus up eventually. when I get a dev job one day, drinks are on me. Yay, bro. Hey, man, bro, if I can help you get a dev job, that'll be freaking cool, man. That'll be a highlight of my life, that's for sure. I always like helping others, coaching others, and helping them along in their journey, man. So if I can do that for you, bro, I'm here for you. Just let me know, okay? Yeah, man, that's kind of that's cool, man. That's like kind of the big thing. I was actually talking to a friend, and he probably wants me to help him out with some other stuff, so that'd be kind of cool too. Hopefully I can talk more about that, or I'll be exposed to more things that I can actually talk about after, sanitizing it in terms of like not making sure I'm not giving up trade secrets or anything and running it through him. But yeah, we went from 64 lines of code to just 8 lines of code, and it does exactly the same thing. It matches everything properly because we're using CSS variables. So with this here, we can see that these variables are in so many different places. So what we'll do is we'll search for the word var, right? So we can see that if I search through this, I have so many different variables that I have to find that, like, look at all these different things, man. And we're using CSS, and so it's Raft now. Okay, great. So we're back at the top, but we're using CSS. Like, for instance, if I wanted to say var and replace that, var and replace that with the letter A, and I'll say all. I'll do this. That's 59 different occurrences that we actually had to change, and you possibly had to write code to target all these different elements that were that are affected by these colors, right? So it's like, okay, I want to change the site color every time, but I have to write these long lines or these long functions just so I can get every little bit right every single time that the page reloads. And even then, I still couldn't get them right because there were some pseudo elements that aren't calculated. Like there's the after and the before element, or the after and before CSS call, and with those, they're computed calls. So they actually get rendered to, or they actually get computed when the page renders. So it's like you can't really target those. So it's like you have to actually program it into the CSS beforehand before you actually before it actually shows up on the page. It's like, how can I do that every single time? I almost wanted to give up on it, and I was like, nah, I want to get this right. So let me exit out of here. So no, go back into this. All right, great. So I was able to use CSS variables to get this done. And with CSS variables, I can do document.documentElement.setAttribute and then style. And then I can actually access all of those CSS elements, or those CSS variables that I defined at the top of the page, or in the root in the root variable or the global variable section for CSS. Now, if I go back to this, one thing I did that messed up the execution of this and caused all types of issues is all your import statements have to be at the top before you get to before you declare any variables. So that's a very simple thing. I didn't know the syntax and I didn't look that up. I just guessed, and I was like, oh, okay, most likely my imports are screwing up and I had to move my variables down. So order does matter in CSS. Now, you'll see that in my coding competencies. Sorry, I cannot pronounce that. But in that section where I talk about the coding languages that I know, I actually put CSS in there, and I even put HTML5 in there. They're not coding languages; they're statically typed languages for the most part, but they are languages nonetheless. They're not dynamic really in any way, except for CSS. CSS is actually somewhat dynamic, and it also has things where that stuff gets interpreted and rendered accordingly. So all these hex values that you see for your colors, during breaking this all down, I found out that all this stuff is actually converted to RGB values, and probably even like with RGB values, the biggest difference between RGB values and hex color values is that with RGB values, I can actually define an opacity, so I can make it a little bit lighter and or more transparent or translucent, I think is proper word for that. So that's just something I learned with this, and I think that was really cool. So do no. Yeah, I didn't change anything, did I? All right. So yeah, that was a pretty cool thing. So we got rid of all that, and I just wanted to show you guys that. Yeah, so we can get rid of this code finally. I just wanted to keep that there so I can show you all like what I had to do. And this also changed the structure of my my colors array. So in my colors array, I was actually defining like the linear gradient, the WebKit gradient, and then and even the hover color. I was defining all of those things, and it's just like I didn't need to. All I had to define, and of course I had to put everything in snake or camel case, but I had to map all those out to where it goes through all of these and map them to the right area, to the right CSS variable, which I did here. And when you're actually doing set attribute for CSS variables, and then set attribute and then the style attribute, you can actually do it for all, or you have to do it for all of the items. So you don't just do like document set attribute for each one of these items here. You actually have to do all of them at once, or else it will. I think it evaluates the final one, the last one in the list. So if you actually, or in the what's it called, in terms of the set attribute. So if I had 3 of these set attributes, and for each one of these lines here, it would only actually apply the last one. So that's something I learned as well, but not too hard. I just used, of course, I used a template literal here because I actually have this running through a bit of a. Did I have to? No, did I have this in a for? No, I didn't have this in a for loop. But as you can see here, I just do this. And then I do this, I calculate which, darn it, I use math random here and use multiply by the length and then round it down. And then by rounding it down, now I have a port of, what's it called in the array? I have a, I'm so sorry, I'm drawing a blank here. I can't just being tired here. But a place in the array or an index of the array. So yeah. Oh, that reminds me. I did post that Adult Swim video. I hope you guys like that one. I really do like that song, and I like that actual trend. Definitely go watch that. Also watch the video that was released today, which is my investment starter pack. And those are the things that I actually got into, that I actually invested into. And this is what I suggest to other people if they ever ask me, because a lot of friends ask me over time. So I'll just be sending them that video. So in terms of this color array here, as you can see, so this array is a JSON object, but I made it a little bit shorter, a little bit cleaner, quote unquote, and using less things that are defined. So like the linear gradient and things like that, because this can get kind of out of hand, especially if it was another CSS element or CSS rule that was defined, or property, I should say, CSS property. I don't have to do that anymore. I don't have to do linear gradient or the background WebKit. I don't have to do all of that anymore. I can actually just do it by using the CSS variables or global variables in this case. So I'll go ahead and get rid of that. If you guys have any problems with that explanation, please let me know in the comment section below, and I can write it out a little bit better. I apologize. I'm just like a little bit tired. I'm not trying to rush through this either. I just want to get to I kind of do want to get to some of the cool stuff here, for some of the stuff I'm doing currently now, I'm working through. But those were some of the cool things that I actually had to figure out throughout all of this. And at the end of it, at the end of all of that, we're hydrating the page with just these 3 functions so far. So with that being said, let's go up to the top. So I've made an actual config file. And in this case, with this config file, I have like my full name, resume title. So all these things will actually go into the web page here. I don't like the fact that it's doing that. Give me a second. So if you ever go to DevTools, you can actually change, of course, the aspect of the resolution for the page. So even if you wanted to test it on a resolution that's higher than what you have on your current computer, say for instance you have something that is a 720p monitor or setup, you can actually test it on something as big as maybe even a Jumbotron or something like that. So I can actually just go here and I can do it as small as on a phone as well. So in this case, I can see everything of how it's going to look on a larger setup here. So in this case, I have it at 32250 by 1118, and I can actually rotate this as needed as well if I needed to. So I can see how it looks long ways. I can see how it looks sideways as well. So we can see that all this stuff still works even at these larger, nothing really breaks, even at these larger resolutions here. So I know that's probably not the best for you guys that are viewing this. Let's do this. Okay, that does not help whatsoever. All right, but yeah, I just want to see how this all, I just want to explain all this while I'm going through it. But in terms of the birth date, now if you wanted to, you could put in your birth date, and then what that does, it doesn't show your birth date, but it will calculate your age. So that is something that I did do. In fact, let's get rid of this. It's not worth it. So if I go here, our menu, all the colors are changed. Colors change every time. Our background, of course, is still there. I changed the avatar image to a square image. It's just the image that I had was square and didn't fit into. It's not like it wasn't a square image, so it was more of a rectangular image. So I thought I was like, oh, okay, this is a okay change. Also, I uploaded my actual resume. So if you click on this, it actually downloads my resume. So if you guys ever want like a resume that you can actually look at and say, oh, okay, this is how a resume looks for a system admin or a developer, you know. So I have that there if you guys ever need it, and that's a decent resume to always look at. Have all the links here. So with our hydrate, our fill functions or our hydrate functions, all of that is there. All right, so there's that. So if I go to About Me, really nice transitions. And I also used Font Awesome and their font library for these icons and images and things like that. And because all the colors change every time I reload, I get a fresh new look in terms of, okay, probably not. Well, there we go. You see that dot changes after a while too. So I get a fresh new look in terms of the icons and the colors used and everything else like that. So we can see how all of that looks. And those I fill in my config file here at the top. So all these different, for the competencies, oh man, I think I still spelled this wrong, crap. I had a problem with that spelling earlier today. It doesn't have an A in it, it has an E. So even with this here, every time I load, it loads a different color, and then it uses nicer images or nicer vector-based images so that I can actually, you know, expand this page and still get a good quality image, whether it's expanded or contracted or anything like that. Definitely will check that out. Yeah, the transition is sweet. Yeah, man, these are really good transitions on this. And you guys can actually download this via GitHub. So I'll be like, you know, I'll sanitize it eventually, but you'll be able to download it and get the, you know, fill in all your own phone number and everything else like that. And also all your own links. And I try to make it to where it's like, okay, all this stuff is fillable. So all you have to do, the biggest thing you have to do is just go into the JavaScript and fill in all this information for yourself. Refresh the page, and if it all looks good, then you're good to go. This was really nice too. So hourly pricing. This may not be the best on a resume, but this is for like the company website, right? Okay, good question, Richard. So your pricing for work and how do you measure that? Essentially, two things. One, I'm new to development or programming and everything like that, even though I show you guys some cool stuff, right? But I'm still new to it, so I do that accordingly. So I set my prices a little bit lower than what is the market average, just so I can actually get jobs. And then two, basic, intermediate, and advanced. Basic services, like if you have a WordPress site, I kind of gave out a price on a job this past week. And what I did is for basic or something like that, just to change images around, teach them how to use WordPress. That's basic. I mean, I'm not really doing any coding or programming. I do it basically, or long story short, I do it based off of the amount of work that I have to do, the amount of thought process that I have to put into it. Intermediate, that's going to be me troubleshooting apps, working on functionality or features, maybe even client-side JavaScript. So your front-end JavaScript more than anything. And not really dealing with much in terms of backend. Maybe a couple like Axios calls or something like that, or API calls is the word I was really looking for, a phrase. So maybe a couple of API calls or something like that, but nothing too serious. Kind of like what we did to get our GitHub. So this is live, right? So the last time I updated was June 14th. So all this stuff is live and it comes from my GitHub. So, but I don't have really any backend code that I really need to actually make this happen. I'm not actually contacting my own personal API that I built. This is just all done. What's it called? This is all done on the front end, and I'm calling a third-party API that I have no control over, but I am using and consuming it. Advanced is more or less like, okay, I'm doing all the things in basic, intermediate. In advance, I'm actually building you an API. I'm ingesting data, meaning I'm taking in any data from any source. Maybe that's user entry or user input, CSV files, or whatever data source, maybe another API or something like that. And then I'm taking in all that information, or even raw files, maybe that are on an S3 bucket or something like that, or an AWS S3 bucket, or Azure or blob storage, what have you, right? I'm taking in raw files, streaming those files using the FS read stream, for Node.js, and I'm streaming those files. They could be large files. They could be like multi-gig, multi-gig files, and then taking that and putting it into a database. So I have to run those systems. I have to think about scripting and all this other stuff, and so on and so forth. And also, this is freelance work. This is not work that you're going to be doing constantly. For instance, if this was, advanced work, but I'm getting a W-2 or something like that, yeah, okay, your salary would probably be like a $35 an hour. So even at $35 an hour, let's calculate that. $35 an hour times 40 hours a week times 52 weeks in a year, you're looking at 72 grand at $35 an hour. Okay, so I make like 75 at my day job. So I'm pretty much working at around that price point of $35 an hour. Right. So, but I'm doing the advanced stuff, but I'm getting that on a constant basis. So if they are my client, I can look at them as a $75,000 a year client. That's pretty big, right? They're giving me work on a regular basis. I'm getting regular work for them. You probably even give them discounts, so on and so forth. But that's kind of how I figure out my pricing. Now, these pricings will go up. I do expect the basic eventually may still stay at 35, but you'll probably see a big jump in intermediate and advanced. Advanced, I do want to get that up to 100 plus an hour. So like 125 is kind of the sweet spot. That's what I was kind of making with my consultancy with my business partner. And we were making like $50 to $125 an hour on some, depending on the customer and the size of the customer. But yeah, that's pretty much, good question, Richard, as always. But that's pretty much how I figure out my pricing. Now, in terms of back to what I was saying, hourly pricing, I may not put this, since I may not put this in a resume, but I wouldn't discuss prices so openly. You talk with them, see what their budget is, feel them out a little bit, and go from there. But yeah, so since this is just like for the company, then all this stuff is kind of like open, and I like to be a little bit more upfront with this type of stuff. All right, but as you can see here, or as you will see, my resume about me section, all of that is right here. So this right here, it's multi-line, and it actually, I think it does look at the line breaks, but I did not care. I didn't want to make it one long line because it was just so far off the screen. So, Sheed, we here, man. I appreciate you showing up, bro. You guys, like, there's no Kevin Samuel streams. You guys watching, man? I really do appreciate you guys showing up and getting some of this IT game. But yeah, appreciate you guys showing up, even if it's for 2 seconds, man. Really do appreciate the love. Maybe this should be my new streaming time because this is like most activity in a while. I know you guys catch the playback though, so that's cool. So yeah, I didn't want to make it very long for this line here. She's laughing. But I didn't want to make it too long for this line here, but it automatically formats that. What I actually do is later on, just so I can get around this, I actually replace all line breaks with a space so that it actually formats properly, and you guys will see that. And that's just something like I wanted to make this readable, but then I also have to make it function in the functional in the front end. So every line break, those are special characters or return characters. So it'll be like a /R, /N for a new line, different program or different languages, different file types have different return characters. Sorry, different operating systems have for different return characters. And there are different type of return characters. It's a new line return character. There's a carriage return character. So I think it's like a /R is a carriage return, and a /N is a new line return or new line character. You see with the core competencies here, I do some just string replacement. So FAB for font awesome branding, and then I get Node.js, and then I also do competency -logo. I have these defined as a class. Again, when you're programming these things, you have to realize patterns. Once you actually have a pattern, then you have to code for that pattern. In my case, I didn't want to have an image and then also have a font awesome. So I was like, okay, I was able to find all the logos that I needed through font awesome, which works a lot better and it looks a lot cleaner than finding random images online, which those images look nice, but those images had a problem with spacing and, in terms of how they look, they will be distorted. Some images would be fine because they were a higher resolution, and other images would show up improperly. So I had to account for that. And then image alt text. So I've been listening to content about SEO or search engine optimization, and I will be doing some coding for search engine optimization on the client side or on-page search engine optimization. So I will be doing that here in the future once I learn a little bit more. I got to kind of soak up that game because I want to do some more of that stuff. I'll be showing a video probably next week or something like that of something that I'm working on so I can, start business around here and start getting some money around here. So that's why I don't really care about my phone number being out. Like as a computer consultant, trust me, I used to get tons of freaking calls. So it's not really a big issue. But don't none of y'all call me. I don't want to hear nothing from none of y'all. That's just fine. But yeah, I'm totally joking. All right. So you can see here the text. This is the text portion of it, and then the name of it here. So I use a testimonial section of the template. And this is what that was there, and I just kind of renamed it. I use all the same classes and everything like that for the CSS stuff, so I can get this whole look here. But for the most part, I used, I turned this into my coding competencies here, and then my pricing. And then I took out the education menu item, and I'll get back to that eventually. But I do have some work. I want to get this about me looking right and fill in 1 or 2 more things. Not gonna lie, this is gonna be more of a review of what I've already done, just because I'm figuring a lot of this stuff out and spending hours getting that stuff done. All right, cool. So let's move on. Again, this config is just one big JSON object. Essentially, you should be able to go through all of this, and I try to make the names a little bit self-explanatory. So resume site link, resume GitHub link, and I do the resume. I prepend it with the resume every single time. Because then that makes it a little bit easier when you're like trying to address it, and makes it a little bit easier and uniform. Especially when you're dealing with so many different objects. It's like, okay, I'm using obj.name, and it's just like the name of what object or what sub object. I'm usually a little bit more descriptive with it. So, for instance, like the logo, like that one is okay because it's a sub object of resume competencies, right? That to me is okay. But then you can see where I just, competency name, and then competency font awesome classic name or class name. So, all these different things. So right here, this is the image, the logo. And then down here is the other one that I have. And I might change these names as well. So you see that we're using JSON objects, and then we have nested JSON objects, and then some of those objects are actually nested arrays or arrays of JSON objects. So we have all these different things, and we've written a function already that will iterate through all of this big JSON object here and fill in and hydrate our entire page. In fact, let's see how important this is. Let's change the name here. So we should have an error on this page anyway. So a lot of things should just not work, right? So you can see how all this stuff is bare. There's nothing that really shows. Some of these things I erased some of the elements out of there. I have my base color here as well. So you're expert, so that stuff is already there, but I don't have my name here at the top. If I go to GitHub, okay, that fills in. So that was able to run. I think that runs before the other stuff anyway. So. And then my contact information here. Oh, San Francisco, I don't live there. That's not my phone number. Freelance available, that always sticks there. And then also the Google Maps here. So if you wanted to put in your Google Maps of your location or your area that you actually work in or cover, you can also do so. You can do that as well. I might do some code to where if you do not include a Google Map, then it will, not show up or something. Maybe we'll see. But essentially, you can see the resume map here, and I get that from Google. With Google, you can actually these links are pretty standard, so where I can put in like, okay, where I live, and then it'll actually output an actual a map with that information. It doesn't show where I live, but it just shows the city, and we can see that here. So you can see the city and everything else like that in the map. All of these things are filled in now. And if we go back to About Me, we'll see everything. I mean, kind of obvious, but I do want to show you guys the functionality and the importance of using this config file and how we can actually hydrate entire pages just using a config file like this, or a structured config file like this, where we're going through all this stuff. So the resume education, I haven't worked on that. I'll work on the resume, the education page a little bit later. We'll probably skip over that for now, and it'll be something I come back to once I complete this project. I hope to finish all this stuff up tomorrow night working with this project. I did want to add a chat feature, but I wasn't able to find a proper service. And even if I did Discord or something like that, I can embed Discord, but the problem was that it would require the person to log in and stuff like that. And then we want to make this thing as easy as possible. There are services that will allow you to put a chat feature on your webpage, but the one that I tested just wasn't adequate, and I didn't think it worked very well at all. All right, so, all right, cool. And I'll probably research another one tomorrow and see if I can get it tested and work on that. All right, so now let's go with GitHub. Sir, you're all done? All right, guys, give me a second. Let me take a short break. I apologize for this. I will come back to the stream in a moment. Okay. I think I'm muted. right, I'm back. Let me test sound, make sure we're good.
But then you can see name and then but then you see name and then
Hello, hello. All right, sorry. It looks like there's echoing there. But yeah, I'm back. Sorry about that, guys. Had to make sure I pay out this guy, man. This guy does good work. He comes, he comes to the house, get everything done and everything like that. So gotta make sure you pay your people, man. Around here it's kind of hard to find like good laborers and stuff like that, and guys that'll get stuff done. And this guy's like always showed up, so I really do appreciate him. But you always got to show your love by making sure. I gave him a little extra on this one too, because he stayed here a little bit late and he actually got out here. And really trying to get him into this house, man, to get this stuff done. But he's super busy, man. He's super busy. All right, I'll do that a little bit later. I have to balance out my spreadsheet with the extra money I gave him. Alrighty, so back to it. So you can see the resume education. We're going to fill that out over time. Resume knowledge, we'll get those blurbs done. But all this stuff will actually have a function that will hydrate it. This is our Axios call to do our GitHub stuff. This is how we calculate our birthday. So I've actually found this online. Okay. All right. I just opened up like a whole bunch of windows. But I found this function online, and I don't think I did much to this one here, from what I remember. Yeah, I didn't do anything to this one at all. Well, yeah, I didn't do anything except for like change the return and take out some of the comments. But essentially, you put in your actual birth date, and then it'll go ahead and calculate that, or convert that, I should say, to an actual date object. And then you can actually it'll do the month differentials and everything like that, or the difference between the months. And then it'll just do it step by step by step, and then get your actual age using epoch here. So from minus 1970, because essentially we've been counting every second since epoch, which is every second since 1970, or January 1st, 12 a.m., January 1st, 1970. So that's something that you'll see a lot when working with dates, the epoch date and the numerical date, or the numerical representation, where every second actually literally counts or is counted. All right, so we do that and returns age. And once I return age, then I go ahead and just fill that in. So I have my age div here. So this is my fill resume function. And then I do all my different changes here. So for instance, like the document.title, if you wanted to actually have your name up there, it'll show up there. And then, yeah, and then it also has your title too. So full stack developer. And that's a little bit of SEO stuff. And this is before like I really listened to the whole SEO thing. But that's an SEO, somewhat of a trick for the web crawlers and stuff. So you have your age div, your competencies div, and your pricing div. That's the only things I've worked on thus far. So we'll go through this, and I'll pretty much end the stream because I'm kind of like falling out a little bit here. I'm having like a hard time staying awake. So here we have our age div. All that is an ID. So all I did is just enter HTML and put the calculated age. Next, we go through a for loop, and this for loop goes through pretty much the entire object. And this is our base for loop. This does all the stuff for, if I go home, treestarsystems, that name, and it being in different places, the phone number being in different places. These links here is all done through that. What I use is the query selector all. And then I do it for the key, and the key is randomly generated, or not randomly generated, but the key is actually taken from the key out of the key value pair of the JSON object in the config file. So I actually have a class name, resume title, on the page. So anything that I need to have this resume title in, and I want to make that change, the inner HTML of that that element, it will go ahead and change it for me as long as I apply that class to it. So you have to be very careful with the classes or the places that you actually use these custom classes or these actual names or name/custom classes. So anything with that includes links. So anything in the key field that actually includes links in the name, then instead of doing an inner HTML, I'm actually going to do an href. And that's how I get these links here to be changed depending on each one of these here or each one of these different like items. So for instance, like the site, resume GitHub, resume YouTube, resume Upwork, all those things. I use classes, and then with the classes, what it allows me to do is maybe on the contact page, I'm gonna have all the different links and everything like that here if I wanted to. So I can put that, and even like the email address as well. That's used in multiple places. So by using a class, I can actually have it for the about me, and I don't have to worry about writing it multiple times, or writing, that a certain code that's gonna get to a certain ID. So maybe it's like resume email about me, right? Like I don't have to do that. I can just do resume email and then apply that class to that element itself, whether that element's a div or an A tag or what have you. All right. So with testimonials, with this, again, we're looking at repeatable lines of code. And what I did is the design work, the design work first. And with the design work, then once I got it to where I liked the way it looked, then I went ahead and did all the, then I started to say, okay, I wanted to repeat these things and made sure that I could repeat it properly every time. So on this div itself, if I go to, this is, here we go. So coding competencies here, you see that at the top. And all I have is I have an ID for this div. And then since ID is unique, I don't plan on using this code anywhere else or this list anywhere else or these testimonial blocks anywhere else. I only use it in this area. I use an ID because I don't need to put it in multiple places. I don't have to really worry about that. But if I wanted to, I can easily change this to a class, and then the code would still work. I would just change the way that I probably maybe have to change like one or two things, if that. But you can see how like I go through that and then I iterate through that object. In this case, I use a for each instead of a for loop. With the for each, then this just allows me to add to the div here for all the competencies. All right, so cool. Once I got all that, I fill everything in. It's one big template literal, right? And I just keep on adding it to the actual div. So I do a plus equals, which means append. Oh, Richard Dixon, appreciate you coming back, man. You know you can always catch the playback. I know this stuff is somewhat boring to most people, but I know for us nerds, this is like, oh God, this is great, as best as possible. But yeah, appreciate you coming back, man. Sorry I had to take the little break. I just had to make sure I paid the guys and reviewed the work that was put in. I got new plugs put in. I'll probably make a video about it, but the new plugs put in, and eventually I'm going to get some speakers, some Sonos speakers here in the house. So I want to get like whole home audio, and I'm going to do that with Sonos and wire, and their wireless products. So really do have some really cool stuff planned for the house, but a little bit at a time. And thankfully, I got a job to where I can actually do this and do some more investing. All right, so yeah, so we just do a for each for that, and okay, again we have repeatable blocks of code, and we do a for each that just loops through this array and pushes all that information out into the div, and hydrates that area with everything that we need. Project study. Oh yeah, hey, bro, without question, bro, most definitely. So Richard Dixon says, I'm good. Matter of fact, can I fork and mess around with one of your projects to study with? Most definitely, bro. And if you ever have any questions about some of my projects or anything like that, just go ahead and ask me any questions, and we can go from there, especially how to set some of these things up. Because with this resume project, there's going to be, I have to write maybe a setup script or something like that, or figure something out to where I can make this easily distributable for anyone that wants to use it. But be my guest, man. It would be an honor to have you and other people actually, like, I'd feel really honored to actually have people fork my project and say, hey, listen, this is like, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, so on and so forth, and see what happens with it. The only thing I do ask, and I think it's a part of the license. If not, I have to change it. But I just ask for the I think it's the attribution or the attributing that it was sourced from me, and that's about it. But that's something that, like, you can see, and you just have a link, at least a link to the original repository, so other people can view it and go from there. But it's all open source, so that is the nature of the community. All right, so here, object pricing, same thing, repeatable code. In this case, I used a for loop because I didn't want to go through the for each. And this right here, actually, I used a for loop for this to generate the list because I wanted to spit out I wanted to return one thing. I can use a for each to do this as well, but it just requires some other stuff. So I thought a for loop would be a little bit easier. I've been using more for loops nowadays. So this is a function within a function. So every time it runs this function, I didn't make it like a global function or anything like that. Excuse me, because it actually takes the list item array and it's passed e.pricing rate. Actually, no, e.pricing list. So in this list here, it shows all the items that these levels or these prices cover. So basic, intermediate, and advanced, they cover different things. But at the beginning, they always include basic or include the previous and then add on top of it. And it's just some of the things that I was actually talking to you about in terms of how do I determine my pricing. So yeah, that's pretty much it right there. I mean, I can go through this, but it's just, again, repeatable code, template literals, and then filling in, hydrating those with information. The only thing that's different about this is, in this case, I used a function for my template literal to generate a list. So if you want to do a template literal, I can't do all this code within the template literal. I have to actually do an outside function. Sorry, I have to do a function outside of it and then call that in and put it in there. For the most part, that's kind of the only thing about template literals. They'll do like lower level conditionals and stuff like that. But if you want to do more complex stuff and do it in line, it's best that you write a function outside of it that does whatever you need to, and then call that function as needed within the template literal. And it also makes it a lot cleaner as well. But yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. I do want to add like a chat feature and some other stuff. But I'm going to take a well-deserved sleep, and I have a lot of work to do in the morning. I have to go and buy a lawnmower. I have to clean up after the work that these guys did and reorganize everything. And then also have to like look at some investments and stuff like that tomorrow as well. But yeah, so it's going to be a pretty busy day off in a sense. But yeah, it should be pretty fun. Oh, yeah. We got some cool stuff here. What the fudge is this? Will the Wisp? Oh, that's actually a cool picture. I like that. That's actually a cool picture. All right. I did want to show you guys this. Citizen. I put a little bit down on the new watch. I actually did a layaway. I've never done layaway before, but I wanted this watch, and Yeah, I actually wanted this watch, and I was like, all right, cool. I just never done a layaway, and you can put a little bit down at a time, so I can pay all my other debts and stuff like that before I go ahead and splurge on this watch here. But yeah, I got this new Blue Angels edition watch, which is freaking sick. Pro Master, where is it? It's like, I thought it was titanium, but I was totally wrong. But it's a really cool picture, or it's a really cool color to it. So I'm not a big watch collector, but I do like. Okay, I was. Richard Dixon says I was looking at the Socket.io website yesterday. Gonna build out some features on their template for practice. Socket.io website. Socket.io. I've heard of that. Socket.io. Oh, wow. Okay. Your nodeapp.com. Okay. Tweets about in your JavaScript. Real-time analytics, push data to clients and that gets represented as real-time counters, charts, or logs. Binary streaming. I like a clean watch too. Hold on, let me finish this watch thing. So I love the Blue Angels collection. I have this watch, and I have another one out of this collection as well. I have like 3. Yeah, I have 3 of them right now. There's some others that I do want to get back into in terms of like, I do not like a leather band, but these leather bands are freaking legit. I love the way they look on the watch. And there's a couple other things that I want to get. I love Citizen watches. I'm not a big face watch person. I also do not like super flashy watches. So if I was to ever get a Rolex, it would be the Rolex Milgauss. With the Rolex Milgauss, that is nothing serious. If anything, it's Rolex, and it probably look like a really fake one. But this watch is still about $8,000 or so. But I love this face. I love this like jade type tint to the glass and everything. I think this is like sapphire. I'm not sure. But this watch is the only Rolex that I could see myself really getting. And I'm not really into like the big well-known versions of this watch. That's just not the type of person I am in terms of like being flashy about it. So if I was to go here, I think it was, damn it. Oh my goodness, I can't find this thing, man. Blue Angels, okay. Blue Angels collection. Oh, the Blue Angels collection. Bro, I love the Blue Angels jets. I've never really seen them or anything like that. You want a Britling? I don't know how you say it. I think it's Breitling is how you say that. I've never been into the Breitlings. I think they have like a bigger face to them as well. So this is the Blue Angels collection from Citizen. They also have, damn it, man. They don't have it on here. I actually want this one. This one's nice. The ProMaster Nighthawk. Also, if you ever want like a really nice watch, go to jomoshop.com. They are what they call a gray market dealer. You can actually get these things for less. So Richard Dixon, you want men's, we could do by brand, and we can go for the brand website stick. There we go. And then let's go for Breitling. They got Ferrari watches and all types of stuff. So they'll have the higher end watches, but you'll see this watch here. Like that watch is probably like what, $7-8 or something like that. Here it's half the price. These watches are legit. I think in some cases you can actually get paperwork with some of these watches, depending. They ship from New York. These watches are totally legit. They're known as what's called a gray market dealer. Gray market dealers. What happens is you have your I guess, non-black, black market would be like stolen, but you have your regular dealers like your Sears, J.C. Penney's, and whatever store is not closed down. But the gray market dealers, the point of what happens with them is like if Sears, what happens with like some of these higher end department stores, for them to actually be official sellers of these watches, they actually have to buy a certain amount every time. So it's a requirement that they buy, say, 15 watches. Even if they don't sell those 15 watches, they have to buy 15 watches. What they'll do is they'll sell it to a gray market dealer just so they don't have to keep those actual watches on their books. And the gray market dealer will sell it for less, because the gray market dealer might have gotten it for a quarter of the price because they're buying all these watches in bulk. The store takes a loss, maybe writes it off in some way, shape, or form. And then the gray market dealer marks it up however they want, and then you get it for a lot cheaper. So some of your Britlings or something like that. I've actually gotten watches from here. I got two watches, two Blue Angels watches. I like that blue Navitimer upright. Okay, I'm gonna check that back out. But yeah, the Britling watches or Breitling watches. If you ever want a cheaper version, or sorry, not cheaper version, but you want a discounted price on these, go to Jomo's shop. They're legit. They come fast. Everything. I love them. I love like the actual. I love the company and everything like that, and their product is great. And I have their official watches, and a lot of these watches, especially the Blue Angel editions, like I've gotten two from this actual website. Actually, I've gotten other watches too that I've actually given as gifts. But with these watches, what's it called? Totally legit, and they'll come in the full case and everything else like that. So you can even shop like the Ferrari watches. They got like a Ferrari watch on here. So definitely check out this website if you haven't already. They are a gray market dealer. They're going to be a lot cheaper. And you can probably, if you're going to buy two of these watches or one of these watches for $8,000, you can go here and buy two of them. Like the one watch that I bought from Sears for my 30th birthday, which I still have, and I have to go pick it up tomorrow because I got it cleaned. That one watch cost like say $600. I came here, bought two more watches for the same $600. And like the even watch that I bought, I got it. It was on here for a lot cheaper. So definitely a good place to buy stuff. All right, and then you said the Navitimer top right, upright. So the Navihawk. I think it's this one here. I think it's what you're talking about. Yeah, these are nice watches, and I do like also the band. All these watches are super nice. I do more personally like a metal band in terms of getting it on and off my hand and things like that. I do like that a lot better. I do not like the clasp and trying to deal with it and put it on your knee so that you put the face of it on your knee so you can clasp it together. I freaking hate that stuff. But I do like having a metal clasp to this. But these bands look beautiful. I forgot which one that it's like Super Eco Drive. Oh, you know what? The PCAT is freaking nice too, man. I was looking at one of the PCATs, bro. Oh God, this PCAT right here. This PCAT. Oh, this is probably the ones. This is flashy for me. This is flashy for me. I'll read your other comment here in a moment, Richard. This is a flashy watch for me, and it's not even that crazy. Again, I don't need a super expensive watch. I just need it to be nice. I'm not a big watch person. I wear one watch with everything. So yeah. Where is it, man? Satellite wave GPS. Super titanium. I do want to get a titanium band watch from them, especially one of these the Blue Angels editions. Sorry, I really want to find the watch that I got. Oh, this is beautiful. Look at that face. Look at that face. Ah, oh, the stars. $2,300. Oh, okay. It's up there. It's also out of stock. So like I said, I guess I don't have to worry about it. Oh man, that's a jeez. Eco Drive. Blue Angels. Eco Drive. And then I know it's in here. Their website is so janky in terms of the way it loads. This is a nice watch, and I have my eye on this one. Definitely have my eye on this watch. This is a really nice watch, and I'm loving the colorway on that one. $725. I think I can get it off a Jomo shop. Okay, let's look at this one. ProMaster SST. I think this is on here. Didn't I say I was going to get off of here? I can remind myself. Sound like Edward. Okay, I can't find it on here. Maybe they don't have it anymore. And this is actually still kind of new, so that's probably why. Okay. Oh man, let's see. Steel. Just like a steel band to it. Where is it? Damn it, man. Blue Angels Steel. And I sort of saved it the other day too. Oh, maybe I have it on my phone. Give me a sec, guys. I really like this is annoying me, and I really want to show you guys this watch because it's pretty freaking sick, and I like it. It's kind of one of those things I can kind of pay off for it now, but yeah. Gator colors looking clean. Yeah, man, that is a nice watch. Super nice. Customize. Blue Angels. I do not know why they don't show this watch on the Blue Angels anymore. Yeah, man. So supposedly with this watch that I got, it's actually one of 1,300. So it's a rare, not rare, but it's a limited edition watch, which is pretty cool. I don't know how popular it would be, if anything, but wow, that's pretty cool. I don't know if there's something wrong with this guy's arm. Maybe it's just the way he's twisting it. Damn it, man. Anyways, I'll probably have to find the link or something like that, or put a link in the description. But super nice watch. Maybe on next stream or tomorrow I'll find it. So yeah, to your question. All right. I'm feeling a few of those Citizens though. Yeah, Citizens is a nice watchmaker, and they're like affordable if you ask me, and they have like really really nice watches. Okay, here we go. I brought up Socket.io in reference to when you said you want to add a chat feature. Socket is used for a lot of chat features from what I'm reading. Oh, okay. All right, cool. Let's look at them. Thank you for that. Yeah, I kind of noticed that, but I wasn't sure. I definitely was not sure. But this would be kind of cool, like your Node app. So now for me to do this, I would actually have to have a backend and do some more coding on this. I actually probably will do something like this, Richard, only because I want to do it on some of my different or some of the different things that different projects that I'm working on, and I want to actually have a chat feature to where I get it actually on my phone or something like that. So I'll look into this. Definitely look into this. In fact, let me just. I do not like resume backgrounds. So TSS. There you go. All right, yeah, I'm gonna save that, and then we'll look a little bit more into it, and get some more information on that. That'll be really cool. Yeah, because there's one that I had, and I had it on the site for a little bit down here in the right hand corner, and I was just like, oh, okay, this works. But then it actually has an actual app to it on the phone, and I just was not impressed with how it updates and everything like that. So kind of slow. Didn't seem too dependable. And I haven't really found one, and then that was like somewhat cheap or anything like that. So, but yeah, guys, that's it for tonight. Thank you for indulging, what's it called, indulging me here on or watching me while I was looking for watches, things like that. So, really do appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for watching, and let me know if there's anything else that you guys want to see in terms of content. This resume project, I hope to have it done by tomorrow, and then by next week, have it fully ready for distribution. So if anybody wanted to clone the GitHub repository, they can do it now, or they can wait until about next week to when it's actually completed. And I'll probably just have this running in the back burner, and then we'll get back to the financial asset tracking page and get that working and going again. All right. As always, thanks for listening. Peace.